Today we're going to be testing out the new range of TaylorMade drivers for 2026. It's the Qi4D range. They have the LS head, the Qi4D standard head, the Qi4D Max head, and the Max Light head, which we won't be testing today because we only have it in a 12 degree and it's not really going to be suited for me anyway. As many of you might already know, I have been using the Qi35 driver through the whole of 2025 when it came out, and it's been hands down the best driver I've ever had. So this is a really exciting test for me today to see if it is better than the one I have been using. But in today's video, we are going to be testing it with the Reax mid-rotation shaft in a 60-gram X Flex, which is most comparable to the current shaft I'm using. This year, TaylorMade have changed things slightly, how to fit you into the right shaft. They're using low rotation, mid rotation, and high rotation as a characteristic of what shaft to put you in. For example, someone like Colin Morikawa is in a low rotation shaft. He doesn't generally rotate his wrists or rotate the club face too much through impact. Someone like Rory McIlroy would be into a mid-rotation shaft, and someone like Charlie Hull is in a high-rotation shaft. So I've put myself into the mid-rotation just as a base point. Let's see how that goes. We're going to be using GCQuad and testing out everything side by side and looking at the numbers afterwards. So first of all, let's start with the Max head. So guys, as mentioned, we are going to be starting with the Qi4D Max head, which generally hasn't been the driver head that I would go for. But if you have seen my recent Callaway video, that's really thrown a lot of spanner in the works with how those performed, the more forgiving heads. So it's something I'm way more open to this year, especially if the spin numbers stay low. But yeah, looking down at the head of this, it's definitely way more elongated than the driver I'm used to. But actually it's not overly offensive and definitely sits a little bit more closed than what I'm used to. It's a little bit darker head than the Qi35. The Qi35 is more of a lighter sort of grey looking head, but actually this looks really nice. It does feel like it's going to go left on me. Let's see what it comes out like. Actually came out right. Not a bad start, 280 total. Good spin numbers again. So this is one thing I'm finding with the more forgiving drivers this year. The spin doesn't seem to be going up as it would previous years from experience. And that for me is really encouraging. It's something which is why I haven't gone into the more forgiving drivers in the past. It's because they spin up too much. But if the most they spin is 2.6, then I would definitely be open to it. Just to mention as well, all these drivers are in a 9 degree head, all set up as standard. Oh, that feels like right. Okay, for a driver which I thought was going to miss left, definitely doesn't seem to go that way. I think I'm holding on to it a little bit, but 2,700 spin again. Decent spin for a bad strike. Any of these bad ones, by the way, guys, I am going to take out because I want everything to stay consistent, but it is interesting to see the numbers of the bad ones. I really like the feel off the face. I would say I prefer the feel to the Callaway drivers, but I can't argue against the fact that so far Callaway does feel easier to square up, which for me is quite a big thing. Something I've always struggled with drivers, squaring up the face, and also getting the T in the mat is quite difficult as well. Oh my God, that's such a bad strike, such a bad swing. That one's going to be coming out. Another really interesting thing, guys, which is super helpful for us when we're testing and also fitting, is every driver head comes with the reflective bits built into the head. These are all the fitting heads, so when you do buy the actual driver in real life, it won't have that, but so much easier for GCQuad because it stops us having to put the stickers on, the reflective stickers. So for testing, it's great. Yeah, that was not a good shot. That was all me. Okay, that was better. We'll do one more with this. Okay, that was the best hit so far. spin number's really good. That's what I thought. It's probably not the best suited driver head for me. I definitely prefer more of a compact look. But overall, the spin numbers weren't too bad, considering I had some bad strikes in there. But let's move on to the core head, and let's see how that compares. Right, going into the standard core head, the difference by the look of things here is that you've got 2 weights up at the front, and it's a little bit more compact looking, sits a bit squarer. Again, a really good looking driver again. I mean, the Qi35 last year was probably the nicest looking driver I've ever seen from looking down underneath it. And Qi4D is probably just as nice, to be honest. It's a nice sort of blue tint to the back here of this wraparound at the back, and then there's some orange detailing. They do make good looking drivers, I can't complain about that. But how does this perform in comparison to the Callaway and the Mizuno so far? And then also, how does this core head perform compared to the Max head? Already I do prefer the look of this. Can't stop heading out the hill. Really bad swing. That won't be staying on there. 3,000 spin, straight out the hill. Okay, that was a better hit. But for some reason, I'm really missing these a lot out to the right. Which is interesting because I've just filmed the Callaway video of the Quantum drivers, and they were definitely coming out straighter. I don't know if it's the difference in the shaft or how the head's sitting, but I don't feel like I'm swinging it any different. And it's definitely not coming out as good as Callaway at the moment. Again, that might be down to shaft. None of these are fitted, I just want to reiterate. I've just put in a shaft which I think is probably going to suit me the best, but it might not do. I don't actually know what type of rotational player I am, so it would be interesting to find that out. It's a decent hit. Again, it's got a bit of fade bias to it. It definitely seems to be spinning a little bit more than some other models of drivers that I've hit, and the carry is definitely not as far as I have been hitting things, but they do actually feel really nice. Okay, that one I squared up better. That's a bit more like it, but that is by far the best one I've hit. I actually thought it was going to be lower spinning than that. Interesting. Well, this is the core head, which generally does spin up a little bit more than the LS head, which I've been in all year in the Qi35. Interesting. I can't fault the feel-wise of these drivers. They feel and look ridiculously nice, but it just doesn't seem to be coming out with as much oomph as some of the other drivers I've tested. Again, it might be that these two models aren't the right model for me. I've never really gone into these models ahead, so it'll be interesting to see how the LS comes out in a second. Right, on to the Qi4D LS head, again in 9 degrees. This is the most comparable one to the one that I've been using all of 2025, which was the Qi35 LS head. I've normally always gone into the low spinning head, so I think this one will suit me the most. But let's see how it does perform against the others. And then we'll also do a video later on with this driver compared to last year's. So looking down at the driver, this is by far the nicest looking for me anyway. It's much more compact than the other two. Does sit a little bit more open, but generally it sits quite square compared to most LS heads. They normally sit a bit more open than this. But another really good looking driver. Let's see if we can square one up, because that is the thing we've noticed so much so far with these. Again, we don't know if that's shaft. That immediately felt like it was going to be open for some reason. 2.6 spin. That was not a good one. We will be taking that one out, but it is interesting to see where the bad swings go. That's a bit more like it. This is by far the nicest feeling head out of the three, I would say. That's a bit more like it. That is what I was expecting from TaylorMade. So 2-1 spin. Definitely feels more forward than my Qi35, I would say. Yeah, that feels really nice. By far the best driver head for me out of the three. And funnily enough, it seems like I'm squaring up better, apart from the first one, which was a bad swing. But it feels like I can really go at it. 2,000 spin there, so spin numbers are a lot better to what I have been hitting with the other two heads. Okay, that was high out the toe. That was not a good strike. But actually, with how I hit that, it's actually come out not too bad. I'll do one more. Oh, that was low hill. That was a low heel, which usually in the past, that would have spun up to around 3,000 and probably span off to the right a lot more. For that to go 293 total with that strike, that is very promising, because that is my bad strike, that. And I just want to show you where I did strike that. That felt way more low hill than that, to be honest. That is all three with the LS head. Let's see how they all stacked up against each other, looking at the numbers on GCQuad. Right, so looking at the numbers of all three heads, there's definitely way more comparable data than the range of colourways. As I thought, the 4D Max is the driver which doesn't suit me. It never sort of has in previous models and brands. And actually that's coming at the lowest ball speed, which is something we did actually find with Callaway as well. So 153.3 average ball speed. The spin numbers actually across all three heads, comparably to Callaway, have all come in pretty similar, apart from obviously the LS head, which is a little bit lower. And actually the LS head was coming out at the highest ball speed of 157. Again, that is the head that I have been hitting throughout the year of 2025, and it's generally the head that I normally go into. But then looking at the overall spin numbers, there wasn't much between the standard core 4D and the 4D Max, both coming in at just over 2,600 average spin. The spin numbers for the LS head, which was way better, sort of where I want to be sitting around the 2,200 mark. And then in terms of overall carry and total distance, the shortest was the Max, which is what I expected, of 263 carry for 282 total. Second was the core head of 270 carry and 290 total. And then the LS head, which was 279 average carry for 301 total, which is pretty much how I would say I hit my Qi35 model. Again, we will be doing a comparison video of both of those drivers head to head with exactly the same shaft in and the same setup. So if you'd like to see that, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified when I do that. But overall, again, a really nice range of drivers. There's only really one head that I would pick, and it would be the LS head. How that compares to Callaway, we can do that as well. But yeah, guys, if you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like down below. Comment down below which driver you would put yourself in out of those three. Also comment what other review or testing videos you'd like to see. Don't forget, if you do want to buy any of these drivers or any other golf equipment, head on over to Evolution Golf. Over at Evolution Golf, don't forget to use my discount code AWGolf10. That gives you 10% off anything on the website. So you get yourself a great deal, also helps out the channel. But without further ado, guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.